Hey there, Stephanie Joy with All Things Social Security and the Law Practice of Joy Disability. Here's a short little segment from our recent live stream Q&A that we have every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel, All Things Social Security. Enjoy, and if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments, and I will be sure to get to them. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.
Gregory Petty is in the house. Hi, Gregory. I've been on SSDI since the year 2000, and I got my first short firm CDR back in 2023. Will I get a short firm CDR again this year? Come this June? I'm now 38 years old. I don't know. Probably. Why would they go from a short form where they didn't expect you to be improved enough to work to a long form out of the blue if nothing's changed? You're not working, it seems logical. They don't tell us their inner calculations, of course, but it seems logical that they wouldn't go from short form to long. However, unless the short form initially is because it's possible that you recovered on the sooner side of things. Remember, let's say the average time to improve for people is 4 years after certain treatment when they have it, and you won, and they're like, okay, so we expect the average person improves after 4 years, but that means 50% do it faster. So we're going to give them a 3-year. We'll do a short form, see where he's at. You pass that because you didn't pass that. And now, you're thinking another 3 years. You'll get another one. Now you're past the 5, the 4-year, what most people do recover by, or half the people do. So maybe they would do a long form. Well, now, most people recover by this. So I have to say it with either side with a grain of salt, because what is their thought processes? I mean, what I just said would be a logical way to calculate, but there's other influences. So, all right. You're welcome, Mr. Pet. Gregory says he was found disabled due to my low IQ. You don't sound low IQ to me. Bipolar disorder and my asthma stemming from my premature birth. Okay, that sounds pretty troubling. You keep up the good fight there, Gregory. Okay. So it sounds like you, by the way, Gregory, were a child, disabled as a child. All right, Beestein, in his opinion, or whatever findings he sent unfavorable, he downgraded my medical conditions, stating the mental health doctor and my primary care, their notes or comments did not match the treatments. Yeah, I'd have to see it. Saying that their notes of how bad you are did not match the treatments, which means either the treatments made you seem worse and their notes refuted that, or the opposite, that the notes talked about how bad you were, but then they weren't actually treating you in any serious way that they would if it was that bad. So you should probably look at your doctor's records if you haven't already and take a look and say, look at what the diagnosis is, look at the complaints, and find out what's the normal treatments for people with these severe complaints. And then if your doctor hasn't been suggesting them, medically advising them, maybe it's a conversation you need to have. We're at, oh boy, it's almost 2 hours, guys. That flew. LaRocho says, what's a CDR exactly? Continuing disability review, LaRocho. Because I have a CDR document that I needed to sign for my hearing that was canceled. You have a CDR document? I don't know. What's the number? I have no idea what's going on with you, LaRocho. It's very interesting. B-Stein says, am I hearing? It took 40 minutes, him and the lawyer. So you're talking about the ALJ hearing. The lawyer had their Someone's at the door. Someone had their stalks. He'd done the vocational, and then he only asked me one question. Is that normal? Yeah, it's all normal. 40 minutes is normal. The lawyer and the judge went over things. He asked you one question, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, normally either the judge is going to ask you the questions about how your day-to-days go, or your own lawyer will do it. So it's up to the judge. So whatever, if the judge said, counselor, take it away, then your lawyer better have been prepared with, sure he was, with all the ways to elicit your symptomology and stuff from you. So the judge can then see how you answer it and what's going on. Barbara Gillespie. Hi there, Barbara. I applied for SSDI, but I'm still involved in a workman's comp case. Will that affect me from getting disability? Not the fact that you have a workers' comp case, Barbara, but two things. Workers' comp often, and every state's a little different, but controls whether you can treat or not for those impairments that are work-related. That could be a big noose around your neck in terms of building evidence for your SSD claim, because you have to beg workers' comp to be allowed to be treated, to be evaluated for all these things. That's a hindrance. I hate that. I think they should change the laws. It's BS. If you have your own insurance or your own out of pocket, you should be able to treat whatever you want, but workers' comp won't let you. And the doctors that are not, if you go to your primary care and say, I got hurt at work, I want you to treat me, he'll have to say no. I can't treat you for that, because your insurance will not pay him. I'm really getting whippy here. Then the other thing is, if and when you prevail for SSDI, they're going to have to evaluate whether any particular month or months, past, present, or future, you exceed the 80% rule. And that just affects, you can't really get workers' comp and SSD for the same months if the combined amount is going to exceed 80% of your ACE, average current earnings, which is usually the few years before you became disabled. What was that monthly earnings? So that only matters if you prevail. So if you have a workers' comp case, I usually say when you get your SSDI back check, or your workers' whichever one, don't spend both. You might owe money back to either Social Security or workers' comp. And if you don't have it to send back, they're going to have to garnish something. So, and again, that's only if you go over the 80% rule. It tends to, unfortunately, hurt lower income workers more than higher income. Higher income workers, the combined two never really hit the 80% of what they used to make. So, but for a low worker, it usually does. And it can pretty much wipe out for the months that it applies. It's never going to be permanent. So it's not a reason not to make sure you win an SSDI case, because that's going to affect your retirement later, because workers' comp does not offset retirement. So you want to protect your PIA, your primary insurance amount, by being found disabled, even if you don't monetarily recoup extra right now, because that will keep your retirement benefit amount that would otherwise, if you didn't win SSD, crumble like a pup tent if you're not super close to retirement age, because now you've just changed the whole calculation with all these zeros in there of undisabled 0 years if you didn't go back to work. I know that's a lot right there, right, Barbara? Dimple says, is MRP, medical retirement, probable? I don't think so. I don't think so. Kosher says, MRN and MRP don't seem to be actual acronyms for anything, just part of the instructions. Gotta love this. I know, that's why I do that. That's crazy. Well, and then the old big joke was, why do they call things SSA, SSI, SSD, SSDI? Like, you had to make everything sound exactly the same, so everyone mixes them up when they're extremely different concepts. I don't know. Hey, Heather Ash is in the house. Good afternoon to you too, lady. I was at an appointment and thought you'd be off before I could catch you. Yeah, we're hitting closing time here. I'm just, me, I like to get through all the questions without leaving anybody hanging if I can. Gregory says, my doctor back in 2020 told me to apply for SSDI because of all my health problems. Then he's a supportive doctor. That's awesome. Due to my premature birth, and I got help to apply for SSDI back in 2020. 6 months later, I was approved. Okay, so it wasn't. I thought. You know, it must be my eyes, Gregory. I thought you said 2000. But yeah, so you weren't a child. But yeah, and total aside here, it is really helpful to have a helpful doctor. You know, and you don't. You know, people know me to say, don't be loose lips and chips. Don't be telling your doctors that you're applying for SSD or the nurse practitioner or the medical assistant who takes your stuff, because there's a lot of bias out there. They see you walk in, they're like, that's ridiculous. He's trying to get disability. He just wants money. I've seen them put purposeful things in the medical record that are very distasteful and hurtful to the SSDI side of it. So I always say, don't do it unless you know for a fact you have a supportive doctor. And I wouldn't even tell the medical assistant. So, you know, if you know you have a supportive one, which you do because he told you, then it's good. That's all good. 2020, yeah. Burger was approved 2020. Okay, guys, I think that is the last question. We're 2 hours in, so that's good. We don't have to go late. Was it last week? We went like a half hour late. But yeah, if anybody wanted to ask, didn't, you can always ask a question under any video that's out there. I will get to them all. If for some reason I don't, at least if it's a question, I try to respond. If it's just a statement, it might just be deserving of a thumbs up. But questions I try to get to, and sometimes it'll be by virtue of a video if I think it's going to be useful for other people. And then what I try to do is not respond to you so I don't lose the unresponded to. It'll be on my unresponded to list. And then do the video and then give you like an unlisted version of it. And it's not public yet. So you could see it first. And then after like a day or two, it'll be allowed to go on the regular list for other people. That way, at least you get it in response to your question in the post. So hopefully you'll get notified it's there and you'll be able to see it, as opposed to me producing it and you never see it to begin with. And it just goes to everybody else. Willie, you are welcome. And thank you as well. Sean, you're welcome. And Gregory, you as well. I'm so glad you won, Gregory. All right, guys, let's call it a day. Kosherish, you're welcome. And thanks for all your Kosher. I want to say thank you for a lot of your input today. You were very helpful and informative. And particularly when you were looking up a couple of those things. That was great. So I appreciate it. Have a great week to you too, Heather. Bye-bye, guys. Have a great week. God bless. Be safe. See you next Wednesday.